Welcome to another video of this series. In today's video, we are going to understand what actuator is. So basically, actuator is a tool which is used to monitor our Spring Boot application. In our last video, we have completed our option mapping. So let us quickly run our application and then we'll just check that whether it is working. So it is working, our API is working. Now we will stop our application and we will open pom.xml. In pom.xml, you remember that we have added dev tools. Now we are going to add another dependency which is actuator. So this dependency was a Spring framework. .boot spring boot starter -actuator. So because we never downloaded this dependency, we'll just quickly run this and it will download the dependency. So once the dependency is downloaded, we'll come back to our controller. We don't need to do anything because you see we have built all these endpoints. We have write some code and we got this endpoint. So as soon as we add this dependency actuator, we will rerun our application and then we'll see what will happen. So we'll rerun our application and you could see that something is coming here, which is exposing one endpoint beneath base path /actuator. So now what are we going to do is we will go to our Postman and we will create one more collection, blank collection, actuator endpoints. In this we will copy our request, okay, and then we will create one request here and then it will be /actua actuator and it will be a get request. Now we will fire this request and see what comes in. Wow, we have not done anything, we just added one dependency and we are getting these many endpoints. So this actuator is a base endpoint which is giving us what all endpoint we can call. There are so many endpoints in actuator and not all endpoints are enabled by default. So you need to enable those endpoints. For example, just remember that in the base path /actuator, we'll suppose we open our actuator /health endpoint. So now it will automatically come here. We'll send it and you see that it is giving us a status up. By default, it is giving us that the application is up. So we have one more endpoint which is actuator /health, which is defined. So we have two endpoints. One is actuator, another is actuator.health. Actuator will give us all the endpoints which are enabled by our application and actuator health is by default enabled. So now for example, if we need more endpoint, for example, we need to do something in our property file. So we will open our application.property file. This will be our first property we are adding. So we will stop our application and then we will write actuator props. So our first property will be management.endpoints.property. web dot exposure dot include health comma info. Okay, now we has to add one more thing. Management dot endpoints dot web. Okay, we'll do this later. I think first let us cover one more thing is management.info.env.enable equals to true. So we will see what will happen. So this will enable all these endpoints. I will attach a link in the description where you will find list of all the endpoint provided by Spring for their actuator. But now we'll see that health and info we have enabled. So if you remember when we ran our actuator, okay, I hope if you can go back to the video and you could see when we run this actuator. Right now server is down, so I cannot rerun it. So once I rerun it, it will get me the new endpoint. So basically you can go and back few minutes and then you could see that how many endpoints are displayed while we are calling actuator. Now once we run our application, we will see that one more endpoint was present over there, which is info. Health was already there, so now we will run this. Okay, so you could see that earlier we will see actuator health slash path and actuator info. Actuator info was not present earlier by default, but once we enabled it, it is coming. So now if you run actuator info, we will see what are coming. It's better to be organized. Okay, so now I will run this. You could see that nothing is coming here. It is default. The object is empty. Usually, there is one application called DynoTrace. Okay, this is one of the big company and a big application. Whenever we deploy our microservices, they uses these endpoints to monitor all the microservices or all the Spring application. So this is one of the use cases which help other products to utilize or to monitor our application. You can also build your own software utilizing these endpoints and to have a monitoring tool. So this is just one of the use case. And if you have watched my video till now, I would request you to subscribe to my channel and like this video. More videos are coming in, more tutorials will kick in. Okay, there are so many topics I need to cover and I need to explain. Okay, moving forward, by default it is empty, so we can provide our application information under this. So what we need to do is we can let our application run and we'll type, and here we need to start it info.app name is info.app description equals to and then info.app.version info.app. Suppose HackCS for example. Now we will rerun our application and we'll see that what information is present. And you can also notice in the log that earlier it was coming only one endpoint, now it is coming two endpoint because we are enabled health and info too. So we'll run our actuator info and see what will happen next. Wow, looking nice, right? We have not written any code, in just property file, and all these parameters are coming, all these values are coming. In our customer endpoint we have to write so much of thing, and then so this is the beauty of actuator, and this is mainly used to monitor the application. There is another thing which is quite simple, is that anyhow I will share the list of actuator endpoint which are available provided by Spring. There is one more thing, if you want to see it, just you need to change this to this. It is giving me an error because we cannot have twice. Okay, so what you need to do is you just need to star. You remember, right, when we import any package java.util.star, it will import all the packages. So same apply here, it will import all the endpoint. You just notice that now we can only see 2 endpoint, which is, oh, it is already enabled. So okay, let us do one more time. I think you did not saw it. Okay, let us make it this way. Okay, now you have noticed, right, that we only have 2 actuator, not health and info. Basically health is, this is part of actuator, is the base one, health and info 2, and here also it is saying we have 2 endpoint. Okay, now once we enable our star, it will, okay, so you could see here it is saying exposing 13 endpoints beneath base package, base path, sorry. Now if you run this, you could see actuator, beans, health, cache, info, all these informations are coming in here, logger, thread dump, heap dump, all those things. So you could go and explore all these endpoints, and if you have any question regarding this, you could just pin your question in the comment section. I will be happy to answer your question. But this is basically, you're going to, whenever you're building any application in any company, right, you always need to have bare minimum thing. Means you need to provide your information, you need to enable certain endpoint which are useful for you to check whether your application is up, because sometimes what happens is that in production you don't even have access to production. You might only have access to the URL endpoint. So you might need to know that whether my bean is loaded, what is the thread dump, all those information you want to know, you want to debug. So in those cases, this will help you to monitor and to also find certain things, that why this type of issue is happening. We are going to cover this in a lot of detail in our upcoming videos, but this is moreover I just wanted to give an introduction so that we cover these type of smaller dependency like actuator or DevTools. Going forward, we are going to cover other topic, dependency injection and Hibernate and JP and all those things, but I just wanted to cover this so that this dependency is clear. I mean, DevTools we have done, actuator we have done. Now there is no other dependency which plays. There is one more dependency which we haven't, which is Lombard. So I will create one separate video for Lombard where I will deep dive into that. Currently we have covered that for our Pojo. We can use Java 11 feature of record, and also without that feature we can also simply using a normal Pojo getter and setter style. So now Lombard is another dependency which I want to cover in a separate video. It will be a long video. So for now that's all. Subscribe to my channel for upcoming videos that will be benefit for you. Thanks for your support.